now going to switch to English for the next speaker, which is Francesca Marano.
Ciao.
Francesca, grazie per aver voluto partecipare a questo incontro olandese.
Grazie a voi.
The rest of the thing will be in Italian. Francesca is the role model for women in WordPress. She's an accomplished educator, community leader, and public speaker. And have you ever imagined you could contribute to WordPress code as a non-technical woman? Well, she did it, and she will tell you all about it. So give it up for Francesca.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am very excited about it. And I've been doing a lot of online presentations, as everyone, of course, since COVID started. And I'm always a bit bummed that I have the slides and people focus on those. So today I made paper slides so we don't focus on things, but on my very emoting face while I speak to you as I would at an in-person event, hopefully. So yes, my name is Francesca. I was born in 74, as my slide says, in Italy, and I was actually born in tech. My parents started programming in the late 60s, and I grew up around computers, programming, and all of that. And yes, I don't know if you can see that. This is a flow chart, and this is a perforated punch card, or whatever you call them in English. And yes, that's how I grew up. And those are the paper that I was playing with. Muted. Why? I don't know. I know why.
Can you hear me? Perfect. So basically,
It's a little bit worse. Maybe you can go back to the other one. This is better.
All right, we're back. So I grew up around these things. I grew up with my parents drawing flowcharts for everything. But the thing is, that word didn't really interest me. The word, I don't know, it sounded super boring. And I didn't want to work on the automation of a car's factory line, or write the procedure that will print millions of bank statements in the correct order, which are the things that my mom did. Can you see my mom? Yes. And yes, that's my son, and he's there just because I want you all to go, aww. So my mom was here in this picture, is like the baddest of the badasses, and she was dealing with this massive projects in the 70s and 80s, and but that's not what I was interested in. But what she brought home from that word was the tech word, the fact that tech can actually help us being lazy, basically, because we can get machines to do some stuff that we don't necessarily want to do, or we can get machine to do stuff a bit more efficiently than we do. So despite not being a developer, I always considered myself a woman in tech. And I think I was a woman in tech and a woman into tech, because I always saw the potential of it for being lazy, which is one of my favorite things in the world, being lazy. So, for example, and this always makes people laugh, but it's true. So in my 20s, in my early 20s, I moved to Israel. And how did I communicate with my parents? Via very expensive collect calls, fax, and letters. And then one day my dad sends me a fax and says, there's this thing called email, you should check it out. And that's how my career in the internet industry started. So in 1999, I decided to make this official. I don't know if you can see this. Also, I'm terrible at placing stuff where you can see them. So this is the start of an HTML 3.2 document. So I decided to make it official. All of this was very interesting, and I took a design class, a web design class, and I fell in love with HTML, and it opened up so many possibilities because I suddenly realized I could communicate with the whole world by typing things in my text editor in my computer and then just dropping the files somewhere. I even signed up for a degree on this topic, but I never finished it because while I was pursuing my degree, I found a great job that had absolutely nothing to do with the internet. It was about interior design and product design, furniture, lifestyle stuff that I loved. So I was like, well, I'm gonna do this instead of making websites. And while I was there, I had a baby. And again, this is just so you go, aw. So I had the cutest, nicest, smartest, funniest baby, and I started knitting for him. That's me knitting a blanket with him on my lap. So what do you do in 2000 and something when you have a son and you knit? You open a blog. That's what we did back in the day to share our passion with the world and to show everyone how our kids were better than anyone else. So I started blogging and people started asking me, can you build a blog for me as well? And that kind of launched me into a random web design career, but because I am a geek and I am a perfectionist, I started studying very hard to do this better than just, winging it. And while I was freelancing and making websites, I finally met the WordPress community, which I knew nothing of because I was doing my thing, doing websites and researching, reading, but I didn't really know I could contribute to WordPress because I was not a developer. So that was like the revelation. Can I really contribute to open source and make the difference for millions of people without writing a single line of PHP? Yes, you can. So I started translating. I tried to make some icons which look terrible. So I started translating with the polyglots. Then I moved on to the community team where I helped for years communities around the world organize their events and support them and, did my best to further the community around the world. And then in the summer of 2019, Josefa Haden, who's the executive director of WordPress.org, reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be the coordinator for the upcoming WordPress release 5.3. This is the symbol of the core team. And I said yes. I said yes because why say no? I said yes mostly because I knew there was a lot of support. There were people that were not rooting for me as Francesca, but rooting for other people to get involved and make a difference and succeed. No one wants to fail. No one wants you to fail. Everyone wants you to succeed. And that's a great mindset to go into because it's very comforting and it's putting you at ease. So you don't really think about, oh, I'm building something for millions of people, but I'm doing it and someone will point out if I'm screwing up and will help me do the best job possible for everyone. And this is why, because there is a squad, there is an entire group of people called a squad. The release team is called the release squad, with a lot of different skill sets that actually help putting WordPress into the world. So it can be 8 people, it could be 18, it kind of depends on the timeline, how many people are involved and all this kind of thing, how many people are available. And the best thing is that you need a lot of different skills. So you need project managers, illustrators, you need the designers, you do need developers, of course, because there is a lot of coding involved, but you don't need only developers. You need accessibility experts, you need marketers, you need copywriters, you need testers, you need mentors, people that will, you know, help the next generation of contributors come on board and do whatever they can to help them. You have users, which are the biggest stakeholder and the people I think we owe the most to make a really good piece of software anytime. And you have mentors. So this is why I said yes, and this is why I think it's great that WordPress is made by a whole team. And then when 5.3 finished, I tweeted out, I am super glad that I've did this thing, but why am I only the 4th or 5th woman, I don't remember, that did this thing? And avalanche. People started saying, yes, we need more women. And then Josefa replied and said, I have a stretch goal for 2020 to make a release all led by women. And that is when the real avalanche happened. We collected more than 80 replies that came in every possible form, from replies to that tweet, to emails, to DMs, to, you know, all sorts of replies that said, hey, if you're doing this, I'm in. And that's how what I put here is the female and non-binary folks release happened. This is how it came to be, and this is the release that people are working on right now, that will be released on December 8th. So it's about, oh god, it's less than 2 weeks away. And now that I check the time, maybe that was not a good idea for me to check the date while I'm doing the presentation, but yes, so this is the release that has been worked on, and over 80 people said I'm interested. Ultimately over 40 said yes and committed to it. There are cohorts, so there are sub teams of people that are taking care of all those things that we said. So not one person needs to feel responsible for all of it, because there is a focus lead, but there is also a cohort, which is a group of people that are also learning by doing, which is basically what contributing is. So I added a slide to my presentation after I did the test, because Lisbeth said that maybe this is like those marriage things that you see on the internet, like, will you marry me? So this is how I want to end my presentation, because I really hope that everything, the little I told you about it, convinced us to join us. So no, we're not getting married, and you know, we can always split and find a different boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever. But if you want to join me and other many people in doing WordPress, please do.
Great. Thank you, Francesca. Grazie. I see a lot of enthusiasm. Geek on Heels. Yes. How can we join? What can we do? Where can we go? Francesca, tell us.
Wait, I lost your audio.
Oh, where can people join? What can they do? How?
Ah, yes, I forgot to put it in my slide. Wait. It's I was very busy making the heart very nice, so I forgot to add the link, which is make.wordpress.org. So that is a website where you will find all the information about all the work that goes into making WordPress. Right now there are 18 teams involved that go from Core, which is the team that takes care of the code itself, but then there's training, TV, plugin, themes, translations, community, accessibility, whatever you can think of. So if you go to make.wordpress.org, you'll see all the teams that are actually involved in making WordPress. Also, you know, right now we talked about the release itself and the squad, but WordPress is not just core, and WordPress is not just the product itself. It's also how we market it, how we train people about WordPress. So all those resources are available. I'm not even sure. Well, for sure, I didn't know there were so many things available. So that's also an interesting.
So for this particular ask, like this call for more women, you can also find on make.wordpress.org, right?
Yes, you can go. Yeah. So this release specifically, which is women led, is going to be over, and I don't think. But I don't know, it could happen. We're gonna go out and do another one in this way, because this one was really to show that it can be done, that the resources are there, that the skills are there. And so I heard some pushback, but this is really not about tokenism. It was really about inviting diversity in a conscious way. If you do want to get involved in WordPress Core or anything else, you don't have. I do hope that what this release will represent for years is that there is a place for each one of you, each one of us.
Yeah.
If you, no matter what you identify with, there is a place for you. So I hope that for the next release, we will not have to call it the whatever release, but people will feel welcome to join.
It's diversity by default.
Yes.
Rather than, organizing stuff. And I think WordPress is great because I think this community is very diverse, very open, everyone's very respectful. So in WordPress shouldn't be a problem, I hope. So if you're a woman...
There's still work to be done.
Yeah.
But part of it is because women are underrepresented in tech and not in WordPress. So I think WordPress does a better job than other platforms. But yeah, basically join us.
Can I ask you a question? Like you said, you would call yourself a non-technical woman. Why? You've built a website. You're technical.
In my mind, because that's the technical environment I grew up with, unless you are able to develop from a piece of paper a very complicated system to automate a factory, you're not a technical person, which I know is terrible. I know it's terrible. It's terrible, but that's how, that's the environment I grew up in. So I also think that over the years, because I always focused on the front end, and I always focused not only on the front end, but on HTML and CSS, which are my passion.
Which is coding.
I know.
What is technical? Yes.
I know, but it is. I do have a bit of a background with all these people that are really able to make a computer do what they want. That I don't feel I'm there yet, but it doesn't matter. Now I might remove the non-technical part.
I would remove it. I think you're plenty technical, at least more technical than 90% of all people, regardless of gender, because you can build a website from scratch with HTML and CSS.
It's still, when you, in WordPress, when you tackle the core itself, you do need a lot more than HTML, CSS, because you
of course.
You really need a level of understanding not only programming languages and logics, but also be very specific on the technology used for WordPress. So in that sense, I don't feel like I'm a technical WordPress woman, let's say that, but I definitely have.
But you're just as important as you showed in your
yes.
Everyone's important.
Yeah, I don't mean non-technical as a derogatory term, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm very happy not to learn JavaScript, for example.
Are there any women there today who would previously say, hey, I'm not technical, but then now think, maybe I'm gonna say that I'm a woman in tech because they actually are? Any women who wanna comment or say yes or no in the chat? Or
Yes, please, you say it now.
because it's Peter said something really on point. I'm not technical because I can't design the whole software flow of an entire factory. Yeah, if that's our standard. We have Geek on Heels. Yes, woman in tech. I consider myself a woman in tech. I've said I'm technical at some point. Then with Nicole, she's becoming a woman in tech and excited to know all about it. Also, if you're not technical, you can learn, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. You can always learn. Like, don't let anyone. I did let my background and my life history tell me for a long time that I was not technical, but also don't think that technical people are better than you because they're technical, because they're not.
Yeah. And then we have Geek on Heels saying, well, I know HTML, CSS, which are two coding languages, but then I can't create a functional design. I think you're definitely it's still functional if you create something in HTML, CSS. You can still do a lot. And exactly, you can really learn. Any other questions for Francesca? Do you have like a tip for women who want to advance in WordPress and tech, except for joining Make?
Come along, don't be afraid. So for the longest time, I was very afraid of going into the core channel because it's 35,000 people.
Wow.
So, you know, it's like, if I say something and I look stupid, 35,000 people will think I'm stupid. But actually, that's not the case. First of all, not 35,000 people are reading what you're saying. I wish they were. Unfortunately, they're not. So just come along. And I think core used to be this heavy, technical, PHP focused thing. And now we do post cats pictures, which I see as a major win for core.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yes, we are programming almost 40% of the web, but we also have cats, and that's awesome. And the two things can coexist and maybe make it even better.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Francesca. It was really nice to hear from you in English as well. And grazie mille.
Grazie davvero, danke well.